Oh, I'm live. Hello. Oh, it did that. Oh, gosh. Right. Hello, and welcome to Calming Anxiety with me, Martin Hewlett. Now, I did want to have some intro music, which I had on last night's stream, but I couldn't hear it. And tonight I can hear it, but it won't play. And I did think I could get away with a startup screen like that. So there you go. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where in the world you are. And let me just turn that one right down. So on this live stream, I'm going to discuss coping with panic attacks, how I help people, and that's drawing on 20 years of experience as a paramedic, and then the last few years as well as a hypnotherapist. Also, if I get round to it, I've got my best sleep techniques as someone who's done shift work for 20 years. These are my techniques. However, my caveat is, I was recently, or for quite a few years, fairly addicted to sleeping pills because you're just working. One moment. This is what happens when you try to check your own live stream. So it is early days for the live stream, and I hope you like it. And then my way of coping with the stresses and strains of the day, and where I've been, where I've come from, the fact that 7 years ago I was completely different. In fact, I'd say most of my NHS colleagues are getting a little tired of just how laid back and relaxed I am. And if I can do it, I'm pretty much sure anyone else can do it. Especially the older you are, you get set in your ways. But if you're, sorry about the noise, if you're prepared, then I think, you got a good chance of living the life that you want to. So, coping with panic attacks. Now, that's everyone at some point gets them. Nothing bad will ever happen truly when you have a panic attack. At worst, you'll just breathe yourself out and almost pass out. And as long as you're not driving, if you do get a panic attack whilst you're driving, I'd suggest you pull over and control it. The physiological side of your panic attack, they're the bits that really start to put your mind on that feedback loop, and it's a catch-22 situation because the longer it goes on, the faster your breathing gets, the more you actually get genuine physical sensations. So you're blowing off all your carbon dioxide and you're changing your blood pH. You'll get those tingling sensations in your fingers, says he doing his hands off screen, and you'll get that feeling in your lips, tips of your nose, your toes. When it really escalates, your hands start clawing. Now, some people suggest blow into a brown paper bag, and yeah, that can work. However, my go-to technique, so if you're with someone who's having a panic attack, you've got to be the forceful one. You've got to be the one that says, right, come on, let's do this now. And the technique I found that's worked the most and the most successful is telling your friend, patient, client, just random person in the street, you're going to count every 3 breaths. And remember, either you or they are going to be going or faster. And on the 3rd breath, they've got to commit to holding it for a count of 3. If they can go longer, better, but let's not jump in and expect miracles straight away. This whole process is going to take minutes. Sometimes I've been with people for half an hour, just calming them down. They will have those moments when they go back into that hyperventilation feedback loop, and it's your responsibility as friend, colleague, co-worker to remain completely in control, right? Nothing horrendous is going to happen to them. Panic attacks are just that. It's panic and they feel awful. But you can succeed with this. And once they've got into that cycle of 1, 2, 3, and then hold for a count of 3, let them do that for a minute. And they'll probably stop and they'll look at you and they'll try and hold on and go, I can't. And it's scary for you to watch. And if you're doing it for yourself, you will have those moments where you stop and you go back to panicking. But the longer you extend that third breath, the better. And if they can't do that, make it every fourth or every fifth breath. Remember, you're working either with them or with yourself. And even if you get that under control, you still get that massive adrenal dump where you feel panicky for no reason. And only a few weeks ago, even with all of my mindfulness and coping, I had that feeling. But you can stop it. You nip it in the bud straight away. You go, all right, deep breath. There is no threat to my existence right now. Nothing is bad. There's no lion or bear coming around the corner. I'm not in a fight or flight situation. It's just our bodies are so infinitely complex. So that's my one thing there. And if anyone is watching, there's a couple. If you've got a question, just ask. All right. If you don't want other people to know that you've got particular panicky questions or any mental health one, do email me at calminganxiety@martinhewlett.co.uk. And when you ask your question, if you don't mind me using it in a future video where I anonymise it, do say, okay? Because I will then use it to spread help for other people, because you're not alone, right? Once I got over my mental health background, I became very open and I champion it within the ambulance service where I worked. And then when someone like me opens up and is very open about that journey, other people start to open up. You are certainly not alone. Practically everyone has their own issues. So that's mine on panic attacks. Sleeping wise, best issues. Now, I'm not the best to comment, having about 4 years ago started to rely on a particular over-the-counter medication which helps with sleep. And in the UK, you can go into a chemist and say, look, I do shift work for the NHS. This is why I'm taking it. But I'd started to rely on it, and I'd always said I could stop, but I just didn't. And then I became acutely unwell a few weeks back, well, about a month ago, with something totally unrelated, a bit of food poisoning. And as I lay there feeling sorry for myself on the bathroom floor, I just thought, enough of taking these pills, and stopped. And you know, I know it's easy for me, but I'd gone from sleeping 8 to 9 hours a night to now 5, and I feel great. But before that and now, to get to sleep, I use the extended sleep cycle system. And this is a really good meditation technique. If you're a follower of the podcast, I do a lot of breathing control to get into that trance-like state. However, I lie there, I count my in-breath from let's say we start at an in-breath count of 5, pause for 2, always out for 2 seconds longer. It works for me. You could have a second or 3 seconds longer. You know, it's not hard and fast. We're so different. There's 7 billion on the planet and none of us are alike. So you've got to find what works for you. For me though, I then, after a minute or so, I make the in-breath. I start getting up to 10 seconds in, holding for 2, out for 12. And now we're into the realms of breathing 3 or 2 times a minute, and it is very controlled, and my inhalation is full and complete, holding it at the top and then very controlled out, sometimes for a count of 20, and that slows everything down. The out breath will slow your heart rate, and in turn it will slow your brainwave activity. This never fails to send me off. And should I have those issues where I wake at 3 or 4, whereas before I'd used to be, boom, I'm awake, I've got to stop hitting that mic boom. Now it's simple. You wake, you're conscious, and you just say sleep and do that slow, progressive out breath again, and I drift straight off. On the podcast, if you do go to calminganxiety.net, and I have all of the shows embedded there, and you just search in the search box for sleep, I have numerous different podcast techniques to help people get to sleep, and then more importantly, stay asleep. So if you've got your own tips or techniques that don't involve alcohol or recreational drugs, let me know, or put them in the comments either now or do a hashtag sleepy by replay, or whatever you want really. And then the other bit, my way of coping. I generally don't get stressed, although 10 minutes prior to this going live, oh boy did I get stressed. I got very stressed. Yeah, my view is now, as I say to my hypnotherapy clients and on the podcast, does it really matter? This time tomorrow, will whatever's bothering you still bother you? Or this time next week or next year? And quite frankly, nothing should. So, someone dents your car. It's an object. Someone is disrespectful, but that's their opinion. Don't let the negative words or actions of others affect your level of happiness. Truly be mindful of all the small moments that surround you. On one of the recent videos, I focused in on this weed, on this block paving. And even my friend said, "Why did you do that?" And I said, because when I walk down the street, or when I used to be stuck in rush hour traffic, I'd look over at the central reservation and you'd see those weeds growing, a yellow flower, and I'd just be like, that's so lovely. That's created its own space, its own life, and bees are going to it, and it's just that cycle of everything. It's looking for happiness. Start to be consciously aware of the words that you use every day. Listen to the words of others around you. Are they negative? Are they persistently negative? And once you start to pay attention, not just to your words, but more importantly, your own thoughts, you will change absolutely everything in your life. When you stop talking in no's and don'ts and all those other negative words, you will look at life through a different set of eyes. When you look in the mirror, we can all do this unless you're completely narcissistic and say, I don't like this about me, I don't like that. Well, why not change the narrative to, I like that part about me, and focus on that part? Focus on all of your positives, no matter how small. Stop looking back and focusing on the mistakes, the failures, that everyone has, or on anything negative that you may have done or has been done upon you when you were younger, right? That was then. We learn from it. We learn to avoid it. And so many, sadly, use it as a way of eliciting sympathy, which is understandable, or failing to achieve what they'd truly like to achieve. Now, everyone's lived experience is different, but I'm not talking about everyone else. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about how you want to move forward, right? And no matter how much pain you've gone through, if it's behind you and it still affects you, then you need to work out how you can move forward. And it isn't easy, but blaming your past for continued unhappiness is serving no one. And no one else cares but you. And that is easier said than done. I've had very helpful work. I had some incredible therapy to put my childhood trauma in the right perspective. But you can. I've seen it, and then obviously, as I've explained in so many of the previous shows, but if you're new here, calming anxiety is a blend of meditation, mindfulness, and guided self-hypnosis. But more importantly, it's about you taking charge, taking responsibility for your future happiness. And I'll leave it with the fact that many years ago, I went to a patient and there was a young lady on scene, and I thought, I recognise you. And we got talking, and she said, oh, you probably came to me many times. And this young lady used to be a heroin addict and alcoholic. Now, if you could have two of the worst addictions, she'd got them. And I'd probably been a part of assisting to save her huge overdoses quite a few times. So naturally intrigued, I said, how did you get over it? Because not only was she now clean, but she was living a really productive life, caring for the elderly, but she's still living in the same town. And you can clean anyone up, but then they generally go back into their same social circles, and their friends are still users, and they fall back into their old ways. And I was really interested. I said, how did you cope? How did you do it? And she said the most powerful, impactful line ever. Her words were, I woke up one morning and I just said, enough. Mind blown, absolutely incredible. She decided right there, right then, enough. And she did it. So if you're trying to quit anything, you can do it on willpower alone. I know genes play a lot of roles, and I've struggled trying to give up chocolate. Still trying. But it just proves when you decide, and I've seen it time and time again, you're not any different from this young girl. You could do it. And if you need help, there's my show, and there's thousands of others on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You're not alone. You can do it. You have got that strength. So that's it. I hope I've given you some food for thought. And as this YouTube channel continues to grow, I will try and work on the audio. I try not to speak in front of the mic and hide my mouth, but I think you'll find it's out of sync, and I don't know how to cope. So thanks very much. If you've enjoyed it, feel free to leave a comment, give it a thumbs up. If you're new, hey, do I get to say it? Please subscribe. Go on. You know you want to. And one last bit. So it's now Saturday the 17th of July 2021. In the next, I've been told it's about a week, but I am bringing out the Calming Anxiety app. It's out on test on Android first. A couple of weeks later will be iOS. Really, tell all your friends about it when it comes out. It will have the podcast and so much more, all for you to help with sleep, panic, self-confidence, public speaking. It's all the bits have been highlighted to me by people like you and me who have our own mental health issues but want to have a happy, not just productive, but a happy life where we do embrace the positive. We do realise there are ups and downs. We will always have those crap days where we want to stay in bed. Have them, but you will bounce back. I will speak to you soon. Thank you for watching. If you're here for the live, and maybe one of you were, take care. Enjoy my podcasts. And as always, in everything we do in life, be kind. Bye.